Hey there, everybody. Welcome. It's Lotus. I hope this finds you well. Thank you for being here today. So, we are at the beginning of the holiday season for many of us. I know not everybody celebrates the holidays, and the holidays are sometimes a challenging time for people. But we are in the ending point of the year along with this and heading into 2025. So I wanted to say the class and new moon activation for the Sagittarius new moon is available now, and I will put the link below for the Sendowl storefront. And that class is a 2025 Aquarian age preparation and celebration along with the new moon activation. So you can utilize this. We're in the new moon energies right now. The new moon is tomorrow, and we will still be in the energy through the weekend. So if you have extra time, this will be perfect to really start to set these intentions in the Sagittarian energy, which is really about this next momentum. You know, Sagittarius carries a lot of qualities that are really supporting this beautiful takeoff point for this first lunar cycle in this new age. So I hope that you take advantage of that, and thank you for being here. If you like this video, like any of the videos, and haven't subscribed, please do. I would love to continue to share with you as we move into this next phase. So, as we move into this next phase, I want to talk a little bit today about creating a holistic life, right? And we're always growing and evolving and changing. So that means that the entirety of our life is a holistic system. And it's always in flux. It's always seeking new levels of homeostasis, of equilibrium. Because our life, right, and all the components of our life is a living expression of our relationship to everything out there and everything within. So while I call this whole life wellness, I really like the word whole life flourishing. That's kind of my favorite term for it. But that really becomes the outcome of having a deep level of wellness and connectivity. Aquarius is going to invite us into deeper relationship. And within the spiral mapping systems that I work with, the main primary mapping system starts with us. Our intimacy with us moves out, right, from us, connecting with the earth and the natural cycles and everything that entails. And then it expands out, connecting with the cosmos, right? Like we're doing with each of the new moon and full moon meditations and activations, connecting with those larger cosmic and galactic cycles. 2025 is going to find us coming into next level relationship as well with our galactic communities, for those of us who that feels like a part of your alignment. So we're going to be going into more of that as we move forward through this year as well. And then the other piece of this is, what is our intimate relationships? So when we're looking at our connection with self and others, I like to include in that, what are my friendships? What are my family relationships? What are my relationships with what I do in the world? What is my service and purpose? And then we have the spiraling of our romantic relationships. What is the state of being, right? What is the expression, that enlivened force that expresses through you and your beloved? And does it feel vital? Does it feel that it has the qualities and levels of connection that the soul level truly desires? If it does, fabulous. If not, we're going to be continuing to explore the romantic relationships as we move forward. So in the class that is preparing us for this next phase and stage, I'm sorry, my light is just not great. Chasing it around the house, and it's early in the morning. So the, where was I? Oh, the class for the preparation and celebration, and then the activation with the new moon really starts to deepen the foundations that we've already started laying, if you've been working with me. But now there's new nuances coming in. There's new levels of commitment. There's new levels of connection. There's new levels of reality, which is consciousness, which is frequency, that is wanting to show up, because that is what is evolving us. So this class starts to support that process. Some of the main themes, and not all of them, but we have a habituated life towards stress. Stress has become just the norm of how we function, and yet stress is like one of the biggest depleters and drainers and things of disservice, simply because we don't and we haven't learned how to really navigate our lives from the inside out. Our stress is it's an informer that we're living from the outside in, rather than the inside out. So we're learning to look at transforming stress into presence, because presence happens when we're embodied and grounded. We're also going to be looking at moving from the 3-dimensional into the 5D flow states. And yet, there's an integration between the material realm and our spiritual realm, right? Because really what we're doing is we're anchoring the spiritual down through our physical bodies into the material plane, and that simultaneously begins to merge it. So this again becomes a form of inner union. The Heavenly Father, right? The divine cosmos, the higher mind, into the divine feminine, that earth energy, that groundedness, that embodiment. So that's an inner marriage. And as we move forward, the integration is going to be really important. So it's learning first, though, the difference between the two. How do you start accessing that 5D flow state so that then you can swing that pendulum back over to begin to master the 3D realm from a higher consciousness, from a higher state of being, and living from the heart rather than scarcity, security, survival. So what is one of the other ones? Yeah, so one of the other ones I'll mention is we're going to be moving more and more from healing into wholeness, recognizing that our healing process, as we become more healed, we become more whole. And then the process becomes not so much healing all the time, even though we can call it that. And healing brings that deep nourishment and nurturance and TLC that we probably didn't get, which was part of what causes the wounding. But what starts to happen then is we start to change our perception into we're not just moving from our wounding because we want to get away from something, even though we don't want to suffer anymore. But what we're doing is we're recognizing that our human potential has unlimited ripples of wholeness. Wholeness that shows up in many, many different ways, the more that we begin to come into self-love and the more that we continue to elevate. Once we get into a comfortable, healed, comfortable state, right, in our world, in our being, in our life, in our relationships, this is the next phase that we're moving into within this new age, is the perception and the perspective that we need to start off with is I need to take care of me, right? I need to come into my own center, my own healed space where I can love and be loved, where I can give, where I can receive, where I'm not operating from distortions and confusions and pain and suffering, where I'm taking responsibility, I'm acknowledging, I'm going through a maturation process for my sovereignty. I'm comfortable now, right? I feel good in my world. I feel good in my life. I made it. I've arrived. We have arrived at one plateau. And once we arrive at that one plateau, that is the jumping off point for how are we truly now showing up to support the energetics and the frequency of the planet, of our community, of our families, and, our purpose and service. So this doesn't mean necessarily what you do for a living, although it can. But it means that we start to look outward into the interconnectedness of us and the rest of life, right? The animals, the humans, perhaps our galactic communications, the earth. How am I interacting just simply because I am moving around on this planet, coming into connection with others? What frequency am I holding? What intentionality am I continuing to uplift? Because once we hit this plateau, then that's when we really start to be able to access our divinity. While we're still healing, we're still coming into a sacred container and a sacred expression of our humanness. And then we start to graduate into the much larger, expanded perception, view, intention, connectivity of our divinity, our connection to divine source, how divine source expresses itself out through us as a sacred container and sacred vehicle. So we're really just beginning, and this is super exciting. And it's going to have its challenges for sure, and I talk a little bit about that in the class. And the more that we're finding our rhythm and we are moving within a constantly shifting equilibrium for each level that we open up to in our wholeness, and that we're cultivating all of these different aspects of our life, right? To be more sacred. And when we make everything sacred and even simplify, we become more fulfilled. We become more enlivened. We become more whole. We become more deeply satisfied in our life, in our being. And that spiral mapping that I work with, that light is definitely changing now. The spiral mapping that I work with starts to allow us to constantly be shifting with these ever-changing and quickening energies that we're going to be dancing with as we move forward. So, as I've mentioned before, new sessions are opening up. So I'm going to be opening them up the first of the year. If you're curious about working with me, what that means, what that entails for you personally, because I don't have a one size fits all, this is all about you, then contact me, and you can reach out on my email, which is in the description box, and we can set up a time to chat, okay? And just find out what kind of a match this is and how can I serve you. Also, the community page, I did list this class down in the community page with the link to the class. So you can either access that through the community page or through the description box, either one. I'm getting darker and darker. And anything else. And yeah, if you're interested in keeping abreast on this embodied way of living and spiritually evolving, then thank you so much for subscribing, and it helps me to know who I'm connecting with. Every time you like helps me to know. Any comments that you want to make helps me to know and to connect with you energetically. And I always have what I call a prayer bubble, that whenever I'm doing my meditations, I'm always sending energy into that space for the collective at the larger, but particularly those of you who are in my sphere, okay? Because our resonance then is vibing together. Okay, I'm getting darker and darker. So I look forward to seeing you moving forward, and definitely check out the class. I love everything that's coming through and the platform that we're starting to create to move forward from, and I will see you soon. All right. Many blessings. Much love.